Welcome back to Kind Regards the show. It's good to be here. It's good to be with you. We all fall off the wagon or on the wagon. We've all got stuff that we're trying to do. I'm trying to make these videos. I haven't been making these videos for a while. I'm trying to write again. And while we're here, I haven't been meditating very much. I haven't been exercising very much. And so, these are the sort of list of things that I'm trying to get back on track with, and it's a common experience. You're at the gym, you go, 5 days a week for 4 weeks, and then something happens. It's a long weekend, so you don't go, and then on Tuesday you don't feel like going, and then all of a sudden, it's been 2 weeks and you haven't gone. And what are we to do? What are we to do with this? It's really easy when we're in the habit of things to keep going with these things. And also, it's so easy because we're in touch with the benefit of the things. Going to the gym once doesn't feel nearly as good as going to the gym for the 5th time in a row. You know what I mean? Like, most of these things have compounding returns. So meditation is really hard. The first sit that you do, your mind is crazy and you kind of get up and you feel like nothing really happened, like you didn't really achieve anything. But meditating every day for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks makes a huge difference. That's real progress when it comes to meditation. You really feel it. So when we deepen a habit, it feels really good, and we know why we're doing it because we're feeling the benefit of this habit all the time. But when we're out of the habit, naturally we're going to be out of touch with that. We might get the sort of, oh, I don't feel as fit, or like, oh, I'm so stiff because I'm not stretching, or oh, my mind's a bit crazy because I haven't been meditating. We might get a few of the negative effects of being away, but we can easily lose track of the positive effects of being there, being in the habit, which is why I think that like a rededication can be in order. And that's what I'm kind of doing here out loud with this video process. I'm revisiting the book that got me into creative practices to begin with, to like re-G myself up, like get excited again about making work. And also I've been writing about why it is that I make the work in the first place. Like what are these videos for? Why do I care about these videos? Why do I care about writing? What happens if I don't do it? Right? Like this is kind of leading into a bit of a Tony Robbins idea. He talks about pain and pleasure as motivating factors, right? So if you're trying to get to the gym and get fit, he says, okay, you are currently in a mindset of it's painful to go to the gym and it's pleasurable to skip the gym. And he says, but really, there's these other pains and pleasures associated with the decision to not go to the gym that you're not incorporating into the decision-making process. And if you were to incorporate that, then you would feel pleasure at going to the gym and pain when you don't go to the gym. And so Tony Robbins kind of says here that the pain and pleasure of change that we're ignoring, the pleasure of change is that we're in control of our lives, that we have an effect on our own lives, that we can get to the gym if we decide that we want to get fit. We actually do that. That's really exciting that we can make a decision and follow through on that decision and feel like we're a powerful force in our own lives. And also the pain of staying the same is much greater than the pain of change. So the pain of staying the same is that we feel like we're not in control, like, we keep trying, but nothing ever happens. It's painful to be stuck in a rut, he says. And the pain of change is actually quite small. Like, what's the pain of going to the gym? Oh, a couple moments of like reluctance when you're putting your shoes on, and it can be, you feel sore the next day, but that's kind of imbued in some kind of pleasure as well. So he says, like, the pain associated with change is way smaller than you think it is if you write it out, and the pleasure associated with change is way bigger than you think it is, and that your mind lets you think it is, because we like to kind of stay in stasis, stay where we're at. And so that's a little Tony Robbins sidetrack, but the main thing is that getting in touch with the reasons why we do things is a great way to get back on the horse, you know. And so these videos, I was doing them out of a force of habit, you know. I was really good. I was uploading one every day for like the first 30 or 40 of these. So I was really in the groove, and I was doing video related stuff almost every day of the week, in order to maintain that, writing out ideas, filming, editing, and uploading and stuff like that. But then I dropped off. And so what are the things, why am I doing this? What is this for? I'm not just doing it out of habit anymore. So I have to get back in touch with the real reasons. And The Practice by Seth Godin is the book that got me into writing initially. Because he says that we make work as a contribution to others. You know, we make work, it's a generous contribution to make art, to take a risk, to do something that might not work, but that might work and might really help someone, might really illuminate things and make change happen for people. And so what's been really good for me is receiving comments from people. I get comments just every now and then. I don't get heaps, but thank you, by the way, if you've left a comment and you're watching this. I get comments that say like, this was really helpful. You know, like I think about this sometimes and it helps me. Or, you know, just people engaging with the ideas in a way that is ideal for me, where I think like, oh, damn, like someone was going along without this idea and then I provided it to them and now they have this thing that helps them. That's like a crazy, I mean, Seth Godin says it. He says like, if we don't contribute, we're hoarding our potential. We're hoarding our like ideas and keeping them from the world, you know? And so the idea of making a generous contribution is really exciting to me. It's way more exciting than the pleasure of staying where I'm at and kind of just, oh, I'll just read a book. I'll just read like a fun book today instead of doing videos. The pleasure of reading the book is nothing compared to the pleasure of like making a contribution, trying hard at this thing, making an attempt, taking a risk, and the sort of exhilaration of doing that. It's way nicer to do that. And so this is all sort of just my example of how to rededicate yourself to something. But whatever it is, whatever you're studying, you know, yeah, you do it because, you know, there's an assignment due and you don't want to get academic consideration and, you know, turn the thing in late. So you just, oh, I've got to do this assignment. But there's another way of approaching it. There's another way of approaching, you know, becoming a biologist or, you know, going to a TAFE course, or I don't know what TAFE is in other countries, but some vocational course, you know, I'm becoming a hairdresser or whatever. Why am I actually doing this? You know, well, you know, maybe you like talking to people, you know, maybe you got a passion for haircuts or whatever. I don't really know. I don't go to the barber. I think that's pretty obvious now, but whatever the thing is that's motivating, you know, I want a job that, you know, isn't absolute trash, that can make me a bit of money so I can go on holidays. Whatever the thing is, getting really clear on that, having a compelling vision and knowing why you're doing it and reconnecting with like the deep pleasure, the more thorough pleasure of doing the thing rather than the quite shallow pleasure of avoiding the thing or not doing the thing, I think can be really helpful. I heard a great thing from James Lowe, who's a meditation teacher, and you can find him on the Waking Up app if you guys are into that. I kind of recommend it a lot on this channel, but he says, you know, if you live in Tibet, you know, back in the day at least, to have a little bit of Dharma every day is really easy. You know, Dharma being, well, too complicated for me and my sleepy brain to define right now, but to get a little bit of Buddhism, you know, every day is really easy. You know, you're surrounded by, you know, shrines and other people who are Buddhists, and you probably, you know, put out a little offering every day, light some incense. Buddhism is all around you. You know, there's paintings of Buddhist related iconography, and, you know, he says if you live in Tibet, you're a Dharma mouse. You know, you can walk out every day and take a little nibble of Dharma, and then you go back inside, and then maybe in the afternoon you come back out again and you nibble on a little bit of Dharma. And it's kind of always available, and you can kind of eat it as you go. And he says in the West, it is not like this. In the West, we have to be Dharma camels. You know, where is Buddhism in the West? You know, you have to find it, and then you got to take a big drink, and then you got to go back out into the supermarkets and the malls and the suburbs that are completely barren of anything resembling Buddhist ideas. And you have to be full and endure the lack of Dharma. You need to fill up on it when you get the chance to. And I think the same thing about, this rededication thing is a bit like the Dharma camel mentality. It's about getting a big dose that can motivate you, push you through for as long as, for as long as possible. But I think beside that, there's also the mouse mentality. We can kind of inject that into our own lives. We all spend a lot of time in our bedrooms or in our studies, on our laptops, on our phones. And there are little things, little like reminders of the path that we're on, reminders of our purpose in life, what we're trying to do, where we're trying to go, that we can keep to sort of nibble on. You know what I mean? Like I used to have quotes on the window that I would write, and I would look out this window, and I used to have these quotes, like from Viktor Frankl or Sam Harris or whoever, Seth Godin, of course. Like quotes like this, like the work will never be good enough for everybody, but it's already good enough for somebody, So I'm sitting there and I'm kind of typing and I feel kind of crap, and I go like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is trash. Like I've got one day until I post the article, and it feels terrible. I hate it. I wish it was a different way. It doesn't work. And then I could look up and I get this little nibble, this little nibble of, okay, not everyone's going to like this. Not everyone is going to go, wow, what a perfect thing. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my God, the Nobel Prize for this guy. But somebody is going to read something in this and they're going to go, that's good. I appreciate that. Thank goodness he made the work. And I would be like, all right, this is good. Let's keep going. We have to, it helps me make the choice to continue the work, to continue my life's work. And so we can do this. We can put little sticky notes on our laptops, we can write quotes on the borders of our, windows, or, have a picture of where we want to go on holiday above our bed, so when we wake up, we can look up at it and be like, that's why I'm going to work, or whatever the thing is for you. We can include it around our house and keep reminding ourselves of what we're in it for, because it's all too easy to lose track and to just do things out of habit or not do things out of habit. And I mean, I've said this before on the channel, but the days keep going, the days, time marches on, and you have no say in this, 2 weeks is going to go by whether you do the work or you don't. And you should be doing the work, we should be on the train, moving along with it, getting to where we want to go, instead of, the incredibly sad other option, which is letting time go by while we're distracted by, menial stuff that we don't really care about, avoidance and procrastination and triviality, entertainments. And the train keeps going, and every day is a day lost, a day where we could have been making a great contribution. We could have been saving more money. We could have been walking towards our goal. Whatever that goal is, I'm not trying to project my ambition onto everyone here. Your goal might just be to enjoy every day more and more, keep things all the same. There's no more material ambition out there, but all you want to do is, be more mindful, or, pay more attention to your friends when you visit them, or whatever the little thing is. But whatever the goal is, whatever the betterness is that we're shooting for, nibbling on it every day, and being a camel, taking a big drink with a bit of a rededication exercise, writing out what we're in it for, what happens if we don't do it, how we'll feel if we do it. Both of those things can be really helpful, and have been helpful enough to me that I've gotten back to video making despite not having done it for, I think, 2 weeks, maybe more. And then before that for, I think, 2 weeks again. I put 3 out, but before that there was another 2 week gap. So yeah, it was much easier for me to not do this, but here we are. Um, Also, yeah, welcome back to the channel. It's good to be here. um, Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Yeah, hopefully I'm going to be on a more sort of regular schedule. I'm writing, which is sick. So there'll be an article, I think, in about 2 weeks. I'll not I thinking about. There will be an article in 2 weeks. Today's Saturday, so maybe 16 days. Monday, fortnight away, there'll be an article for you guys. I think about simplicity and Thomas Merton, who was a Trappist monk in the United States. Yeah, anyways, thanks very much. Take care. I've got a YouTube and a Spotify link in case you want to listen or watch them accordingly. And there's also the Kind Regards Substack link for the articles that I post. There's a bunch on there I haven't written in a while, but there's heaps on there. And if you scoot around and pick something that might interest you, some of them are even funny. So, if you like that kind of thing. Yeah, thanks very much. Take care. All the best. It's good to be back with you. Walking the path. Thanks.